Lee Ward. Do we have Lee Ward? Is he today? Thank you very much. So, Mr. Ward, you have 3 minutes, and when 2.5 minutes is gone, I'll ask you to sum up, and then everybody will get the chance to ask questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Today's meeting is to decide if Uber, the company, are fit and proper to hold an operator's licence in Europe. I'm sure that they will tell you about the legal fight with TfL, but that's nothing to do with Europe. You are here today to decide on the fit and proper status of Uber, the company, in Europe for its residents, visitors and students, which you are responsible for the safety of. Uber is a trading name which involves several entities, but all work together: Uber Britannia, Uber London and Uber BV, the tax-avoiding arm base of the Netherlands. In the report, it states that Uber London are not part of this application. I beg to differ. It's all the same company. Also the same app is across the country. Are Uber fit and proper? They have been refused licences in Reading, North Tyneside and Cardiff. They have been suspended in Sheffield and not renewed in London. They have walked away from their applications in Crawley, Conway, Gateshead, Harrogate, Oxford, Preston, Wokingham, Sandwell and Worcester, and that's only to my knowledge. Why? Because the question has been asked, who accepts the booking, the driver or Uber? In 2 legal cases, the answer has been that Uber accept the booking after the driver has. That's backfilling and illegal. Almost simultaneously does not mean before. This is the same as Section 19 of York's Operators' Conditions. A driver cannot be involved in the acceptance of a booking. I'm sure that Uber's sales team, because that's what they are, will try to choose their words to make you think otherwise. The fact is that twice they have stated in a court of law that the booking is accepted by the driver, once in Canada and another in the UK tribunal regarding workers' rights. If Uber are so fit and proper, why are we sat here today? This company has so many lawsuits, it's beyond belief. It's also admitted to it being hacked and did nothing about it. To this day, Uber Britannia is not even registered on the ICO database for data protection. They simply don't care. Ask yourselves this: why so many court cases in so many countries? What makes them fit and proper here but not anywhere else? They will tell you about the amount of customers that have downloaded their app. They will tell you about the amount of customers that use the system. They won't tell you if it's legal or not. They may tell you about the investment in electric vehicles. They won't tell you it's the drivers and customers who are paying for them. They won't talk about the Indian lady who was raped and they got the medical records to fight her back with. They won't tell you about being hacked and keeping it quiet while they paid off the hackers. They won't tell you about all the sexism within the company. What they will tell you is carefully selected words with half-truths in them.
30 seconds, Mr.
They
Ward.
will also tell you what you think you want to hear. It's up to you to hear what they are saying. So ask them to prove if the booking platform is legal and it's not the driver who accepts the booking. Please, ask them. They usually just walk away and make the decision for you. Remember their company motto: it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, members, do any of you have any questions for Mr. Ward? No? Okay. Thank you very much. The next on the list is Wendy Loveday. Wendy, there you are.
Hi.
So you have 3 minutes, and at 2.5 minutes I'll ask you to sum up. Okay, and then we'll ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have some important numbers for you. 57 million, 13 and 72. 57 million is the number of Uber accounts that were hacked. 13 is the number of months that it took Uber to finally admit that they had not only been hacked, but they'd also paid a ransom to the hackers. Those 13 months consist of 9,360 hours. They should have reported the breach of their security within 72 hours, meaning that they sat on this information for 9,288 hours longer than is legally allowed. Passenger safety has always been a major issue for us where Uber are concerned, but now it's not just their physical safety, it's their online safety that's at risk. York Council need to show Uber that they care about the safety of their citizens and visitors, even if Uber choose to disregard it completely. This breach of security had already occurred at the point that York Council renewed Uber's licence last year. You granted them a licence in good faith, based on the information that you had then, which did not include this massive cover-up. Don't make the same mistake again, only to find out 13 months further down the line about something else that's going on right now that you don't know about. Don't wait to see what little gem they have in store for you. Just say no to the licence. If somebody asks the right questions, they will just walk away. Let me remind councillors that the LGA handbook states that you only have to have soft intelligence to refuse a licence. You only have to believe that they are not fit and proper. You do not have to prove this. I quote from this year's Uber relicensing application that it was noted last year that if a licence was not granted, Uber could still operate in York using out-of-town drivers, which would mean even less control over who was operating in the city. Well, they've totally proven that they cannot recruit York drivers, so we have continued to encourage out-of-town drivers to come and work in York, running roughshod over our city, not caring about the consequences, and this is absolutely no reason whatsoever to relicense them. Uber have deliberately deceived the world, and they will continue to do so. Do not be a party to this deception. You are our council. So members, please remember these three numbers: 57 million accounts hacked, 13 months before Uber owned up to paying a ransom, breaking the law and keeping it quiet, and only 3 minutes for me to convince you not to give them a licence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You still had 15 seconds, but that's fine.
Oh, thank
I
you.
I noticed that you were winding up anyway, so that's fair.
Yeah.
Does any member have any questions, pardon me, for Wendy Loveday? Councillor Mason.
In terms of the 72 hours, where does that come from, do you know?
It's in the legislation that if you have a breach in security, you have to report it within 72 hours.
Okay.
No? Anybody else? No?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So our final speaker is Neil McGonigal. Sorry. So you have 3 minutes as well.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'll keep it brief. My name is Neil McGonigal, Head of Cities for Uber across the north of England. Just want to outline some of the reasons why we're applying to renew our operator's licence with York Council. Over the course of the last 12 months, we've seen a steady increase in the number of people looking to use the service we provide within York. There's now over 28,000 people that regularly use the Uber app to get from A to B within the city. From our experience, the passengers love the ability to have the convenience of pressing a button to request a car, take a trip without having to use cash at all, and from a safety point of view, being able to track every element of that journey real time, whether that's themselves, family members, friends, or whatever, through the app. Most of those people are locals and native to York, but increasingly we're seeing a lot of visitors to York and a lot of international visitors use the service. Over the last few months alone, we've had people from 73 different countries outside of the UK using the Uber app within this area. So what we're seeing is increasingly international visitors, whether they're tourists, whether they're people here on business, are coming with the expectation of being able to use their Uber app to safely, affordably, reliably, I will use the same words because I believe in them, get around this city. I'm very proud of the service that we provide to those 28,000 people. Personally, I believe that increased choice in competition is a good thing for both passengers and drivers in terms of helping increase standards across the board. But I'm also very proud of the relationship we've been able to develop with the council and with licensing over the course of the year. There are numerous examples of where we've worked cooperatively as a licensed private hire operator to either tackle a certain issue or to improve something in a certain area. They would include communications we push out to drivers, for example, safe places to park while taking a break, using technology within the app to actually address some of the issues that we reported around private hire vehicles picking up on Hackney ranks or near Hackney ranks. On the odd occasion, where there has been a driver who's committed an offence while using the app, for example, applying for hire, We've been incredibly open and cooperative with the council in providing all the information they need to bring a prosecution. And then finally, working with third parties, the likes of the racecourse, the likes of the railway station, to again use the technology within the app to actually improve and optimise the experience for a passenger being picked up. So I'm really keen to be able to not only maintain that relationship with the council, but ideally to build upon it over the coming years. And that's why we've submitted the application to renew our operator's licence. Thank you for taking the time to consider it. I'm sure there might be some questions, so happy to take them.
Is what steps are Uber taking to make all of those checks? How do you make all of those checks for all of these drivers who have apps?
So again, I guess it's where we use technology to our advantage. So I think I was quite confused by some of the statements we made before about background checks. I think Councillor Mason probed on a little bit, because that responsibility in terms of DBS checks quite clearly sits with the local authority, and you can't obtain a private hire driving licence with any local authority within England and Wales without going through disclosure and bar and service doing the background checks. So what we do with, I guess for Uber, is as a driver, to have a kind of active Uber account, you'd need to have a valid private hire driver's licence and a valid DVLA card. And our technology would capture that documentation and importantly capture the expiry date of it. For the vehicle that drivers looking to use, would then look to hold a valid private hire vehicle licence, MOT certificate and certificate of insurance. Again, all of those documents would be verified and would have the expiry date maintained on our systems. What that means, and where we use the technology, is as soon as one of those documents would lapse or expire, so it goes beyond its expiry date without being renewed or replaced by the driver, then that driver's access to the account is immediately suspended until such a time as they replace the documents. So we are always confident that the drivers and vehicles that are active on Uber app have a full set of valid documentation associated with it, to private hire driver's licence, whether it's an MOT, or whether it's an insurance certificate. Does that answer your question, Councillor Chris?
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Wells.
I was going to ask a very, very similar question, but...
Councillor Crisp, can you turn your microphone off?
Sorry.
Thank you.
I was going to ask relatively the same question, but I'm interested in one of the things that you've said. 28,000 York people have the app and are regularly using Uber.
Yeah.
Are they receiving a service from York Uber drivers, or are they relying on Uber from elsewhere?
It'll be a combination. It will be whichever is the...
Sorry, it's not a comedy show, so if you don't mind.
It'll be a combination. The booking will be dispatched to whichever happens to be the most conveniently located driver and vehicle for that particular passenger. The reason we do that is it keeps down, well, it's good for the passenger in terms of obviously make sure they get a vehicle as quickly as possible. It's good for the driver because it's minimising the amount of dead mileage that they'd be driving to a booking without a paying passenger in the back. And it's good for the environment because, again, it's reducing the amount of dead mileage that's taking place on the roads.
So how many York Uber drivers are there then? And
so York licence is about 10 at the moment, and that was information that was supplied to Leslie as part of the application.
Okay, thank you. Turn your microphone on. Councillor. Okay, does anybody have any further questions for either Neil or, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
So it's Ryan.
Councillor Hayes.
You gave us the numbers of Uber drivers that are licensed in York. It's about 10. It's the numbers of Uber drivers that are coming
Councillor Chris, could you turn your microphone
that are coming from outside the city. Can you? I mean, I presume you must have a pretty good idea of the number of drivers from outside the city that are
Councillor
coming
Hayes,
to
I'm
York.
ever so sorry, but that isn't really applicable in this case. We're talking about Uber here, and we're not talking about the drivers that come in from other parts of the area.
I think it's highly... we've got a series of complaints. We know how many complaints there are. We have 897 drivers that are registered in York, of which 10 of them we know are Uber drivers. So therefore, I'm trying to establish what is the balance between the number of drivers coming to York and the complaints that have been given, as against the number I think it's a very relevant question.
I think an equally relevant question would be, I don't know if you have the breakdown out of those complaints, how many were raised by the trade and how many were raised by the public or passengers? I don't know if we've got that information to hand.
And conversely, so do we know the numbers? I mean,
Actually, that was one of the questions I was going to put to Leslie about complaints. So, do you have any further questions?
Are we going to get an answer to that question?
Yeah.
do we know how many drivers come from
That's
outside?
commercially sensitive information. I wouldn't be prepared to provide in a public arena.
So, no, then in that case.
Difficult in trying to assist you to your decision, but the grounds have to be specific as to why you do not consider this operator to be fit and proper in the context of the fact that you licence other operators in the city as well without differential expectations of them.
Well, we'll stick with the... I'll
Okay, so just to recap, we have complaint and the data protection breach as the two grounds that we're going to refuse this application on, should you choose to vote that way. So, ready to take a vote? Yeah. Are we ready? Okay, so all those in favour of refusal of the application on the grounds that have been identified, please raise your hand. How many have we got? So let's go for against. We've got 12, so we've got... And again, I'm getting, don't worry. So I'm just making sure she's got the right number down. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Any abstentions? 2. So we have 7 in favour of refusing the application. We have 3 against refusing the application and 2 abstentions. So the licence stands refused. Yeah! Should I stand up and bow? That's it, yeah. If there's any matters, any urgent business...